Welkom bij Diversity Stories.
Dit is alweer de derde aflevering.
Yes.
En wij zijn
Silas,
Bloemie
en Nina.
vandaag hebben we 2 items.
Eentje over gender binary.
En we hebben de vaste column Nobody Cares. Dat is inmiddels al de derde aflevering daarvan.
Ja.
Dit keer gaat het over institutions en bureaucratie.
Wat houdt gender binary precies in?
Nou, Silas. Ik denk dat dat heel erg ligt aan wie je het vraagt. Omdat ik me identificeer met genderfluid is het heel erg zo'n fluïde. Dus niet eens de ene dag de andere dag, maar letterlijk 3 keer op een dag. Dat ik denk, ja, maar dit lichaam past niet bij hoe ik me voel nu. Nou, dat is stom. En daar kan je je ook helemaal niet meer op kleden dus. Want het kan echt, het fluctueert en het beweegt en het is gewoon anders altijd.
En dan gaat het bij binary dus daarover dat je maar 2 soorten gender hebt eigenlijk. En je zegt van, is dat het? Of waarom?
Ja, bij binary is het dan zo van, er is alleen man en vrouw. Oh nee, wacht. Er zijn er eigenlijk heel veel waar je mee je kan identificeren. Maar waarom zeggen we dat er maar 2 zijn? Dat is makkelijker. Dat zijn we gewend.
Maar misschien krijgen we meer te horen over hoe mode zich tot dit onderwerp verhoudt.
In het item.
Hi, my name is Hester Brands.
Hi, I'm Chad Buchter.
Hi, my name is Chinook Felique de Miranda.
And as 3 students of the MA Fashion Strategy, Generation 26 and Generation 27, we are constantly challenged to pose questions towards the fashion system, which includes the structure and content of our educational program. Today, we would like to share with you our critical stance on the fashion education system, inspired by a recent article on ID.com regarding the diversity and inclusivity of Dutch fashion schools. I want to start with telling you about what happened a while ago with HEMA, which I think is one of the most iconic stores still in the Netherlands, a store where people often go to buy clothing, to buy, you can buy, as you know, you can buy almost everything there. And I think a few weeks or maybe even a few months back, HEMA made a very small decision, which apparently was also very controversial. The store decided to remove the signs for boys and girls from its children clothing section. And this very small gesture incited a storm of angry reactions all over social media. And a lot of these messages showed concerned parents wondering if their children would want to change their sex now, or that the colors pink and the colors blue would be banned from stores. Funny jokes were made. HEMA was changed to she-ma or she-male, all very funny. And I must say that this uproar didn't really surprise me, because these codes or these sort of rules for what it means for us to be either a man or a woman can still be found in every aspect of our life. These expectations of a man and a woman influence the way we dress, but also the way we move across the street, the way we shape our bodies, the way we speak, the amount of hair that's on our bodies, but also, very importantly, our position in society and our relation to other people. And this list can go on and on. There are so many aspects of our life, or our day-to-day lives, which are influenced by these expectations. What I find so important, or so sort of, what's the word? Sad in a way of these codes, is that the influence of this gender binary, so this division of our society into men and women, is so ingrained into our society that most people feel that gender issues have no repercussions for their day-to-day life. I would like to share how the gender binary influences my life, I am a gay, masculine presenting person, but I do not necessarily like to follow all codes for masculinity or for what it means to be a man. So, for example, I like to wear skirts. That's one thing that's very important for me in my gender identity. But I still feel very afraid to break with these codes in public, mostly. So I still feel quite scared to walk in a skirt on the street. I still feel quite scared when I'm holding my boyfriend's hand when we are kissing on the street, because I'm constantly thinking of the repercussions and the consequences that this behavior that is not coded as masculine can have. And have either of you guys ever, do you guys feel how these expectations of what it means to be a woman weigh down on you, or is it more of a, are you not aware of how this, or yeah, that's maybe weird to say,
No,
but
I mean, like some people don't experience the well, I can only speak for myself actually. I've experienced it a lot because I wear a lot of male clothing. Like I wear obvious male brands, and before it was cool to wear unisex clothing, I've always worn it. For me, it's kind of a mask. Like I like hiding in my clothes. I like wearing oversized clothes, and the main topic of controversy would be, for me, what that I would engage in would be the fact that I'm a woman or a girl, and that it would surprise people when I have on a skirt or a dress. It's like, oh, you wear that, but I thought you weren't that feminine. I was like, no, I've always been, I'm a woman, I've always been feminine. I just prefer to not wear a skirt 7 days out of the week.
And a skirt doesn't really represent how feminine you are.
No.
It doesn't represent
No.
femininity at all.
That's sort of the trigger point that we, I feel that in our society we have these sort of icons of sex or icons of gender that we attribute so many codes and rules to, so especially in fashion. So when was it decided that men couldn't wear skirts anymore outside of being Scottish or reenacting Roman stuff or something, you know? When was this point made?
When was the turning point?
Why are we still considering a man who wears a skirt to be feminine, for example? Why can't a man just wear a skirt and still be a masculine if you want to be masculine, of course?
Yes. Like for me, it was maybe a little bit different because I was always, I used to dress up like in literally dresses and like high heels. And at one point I noticed that I got a lot of unwanted attention on the street or whenever I was in a public space. And that for me was enough to decide like, okay, like I'm going to focus more on wearing jeans and trousers and sweaters and like,
But you did it, it was a very conscious decision.
It was very conscious because I felt trapped in the things that I could do as a woman wearing a skirt.
Yeah, so in the beginning of I think it was at the end of high school, beginning of college, that I was very aware of the fact that I was dressing for someone else instead of for myself.
Yeah.
So at some point...
You're dressing for the observer.
Yeah, and then at one point I was like, well, fuck this.
Yeah.
And I decided not to anymore. And then I think the first months, or even longer, like I still get comments from my dad, like, you should not dress like a bum so often, or like you should dress up more. Or to my graduation of my college education, I wore a dress, but I wore sneakers.
he was
underneath
so
the dress.
upset. He was so upset
It
with
wasn't
me.
the complete picture.
No, I was like, you could have looked so feminine, but you ruined it with the shoes. I was like, I'm comfortable. I can run away when I need to. Like, when something happens, I can run.
Yeah.
But I get, like, a lot of, or, like, small things when you wear lipstick.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you're so feminine right now. It's like, thanks. I saw you yesterday. I was not feminine yesterday. It's really...
Yeah, I think for women it's
Slightly
like
different.
as a man, like when you break with gender rules or this whole, or if you try to transgress the gender norms, the attacks or the attacks, the consequences that are often very aggressive and
Yeah.
very hardcore in a way. But
Yes.
then if you look at women,
They have more freedom in this.
yeah, but also what I find interesting, like the consequences might be less aggressive or less scary, but they are more constant, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a woman, you are more constantly being questioned on your gender identity. And I do think that as a if I speak for myself, for me it's way easier to remove myself from a situation. I only have to wear a jeans and a sweater and it's fine.
Right.
But I think that for women, it's more difficult to escape this.
I think I know what you mean. I think
Yeah.
I can identify with that
Yeah.
also. And for instance, like these silly things strangers would tell me, like I would stand behind a bar and like be a waitress. Like I've been called stupid a lot of times just because I am blonde and I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And I try still, like every day,
Yeah.
to prove these strangers that I don't know, like these people that I've maybe
Yeah.
crossed once in my life.
Yeah.
And I fight every day to prove these people
Yeah.
wrong, that
Yeah.
I am a person with brains and that I am capable of having discussions and
Yeah.
I'm capable of speech
Yeah.
and not just being an object that is
There to be looked at.
there to be looked at.
It's kind of weird because these insults are kind of accepted.
Yeah,
Because
completely.
it's because people use them in
It is because it
in
is so
everyday
ingrained.
conversation
Yeah.
also, like like a dawn
Yeah.
blonde or something. Like it's so normal to say that it's almost
Yeah.
it's kind of insulting without even knowing that you're
completely
insulting.
unconscious.
Yeah.
If you look at it, as you were saying in a previous episode about cultural appropriation and its consequences for our fashion system and fashion education, I think the way in which we divide ourselves in this binary, in this polar opposite of men and women, and the way in which we interact with each other in this system is very comparable to what you were talking about, these microaggressions and this sort of feeling of white innocence. This whole system of the binary I believe has truly been at the foundation of
Yes.
our society in every aspect. You can even trace it back to the first ideas about polarity of mind and body. It's the same sort of division, or the idea that there's the one,
There's this one and
two
there's the
ends,
other.
and there's nothing like everything
Yes.
that's in between is not really there. It's just the
Yes.
one or the other thing.
But it's also, I think, part of social control, and that you are able to check on each other. Also,
Yeah.
if you are abiding to these codes or not. And people constantly, I think, or I feel that way anyway, really exchange these ways of being in control of this situation
It's
or
all
of
about
each
power.
other's situation.
Which
Yes.
is also kind of weird because when you think about the punk movement and their like anti-control, anarchy mindset, they were like the punk boys were wearing nail polish and they were wearing skirts over their pants, and that was kind of, it wasn't accepted, but it was accepted.
Yeah, within that group.
Yeah,
though.
but now, like, if as we like in current times look back at that movement when it started, we now accept that as being part of a punk movement. But when, for for instance, people probably see you wearing a skirt and holding your boyfriend's hand, then because it's in a different context, it's suddenly weird or it's suddenly not appropriate anymore. Which is, I just find it fascinating that if you just
change the context
of
a situation,
and then it's
instantly has complete different meaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's also about setting, because if you walk through like an art school,
it's
like nobody will
different.
even look at
nobody
you.
will care.
Nobody will be like, "Oh, you're so basic." They'll be literally like, I don't know. Yeah, they wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
It's all about these safe spaces, I think. But
But the street should be a safe space.
But
like,
is it?
But then it is you're talking about a public space.
Yeah, but should public space not be how is that actually not a safe space? It's just weird to me.
Because it's under the control of the male patriarchy. Basically, yes. And that's then again this control over people whenever it's in the public space or a public domain.
But like, how is that? Like, there should be aim to change that.
For instance, now there are also in politics for instance in Amsterdam and Rotterdam, I think there are rules against catcalling now. You can get fined for catcalling,
which is kind of impossible.
It is impossible,
but it's good. But it's a good initiative.
Yes,
but
it's more like a symbolic law.
Yeah.
You just say by instigating a law like that, you just say that, look, this happens and we're not okay with it, and whenever it's impossible to check everything, but when it happens and we see it happening, you're in trouble. It's not okay.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that things like that are changing. But then I also hear a lot of news items recently also about gay men being attacked on the street just because they maybe are in drag or they were kissing their boyfriend or holding hands on the street. Like, that kind of aggression I've never experienced as a woman or a cis heterosexual
I think that's
woman.
what I mean, that breaking with these binary expectations as a man evokes heavier aggression in a way, because the people who are they feel more threatened in their own masculinity.
Yes.
So when a woman is breaking with gender codes, or when they are very crudely said, for example, catcalling you on the street, it is in a way the relationship between you and that man has not changed. It's still the same relationship, but when I am walking with my boyfriend, they don't see that as a man-to-man relationship anymore. They start to see you as something that is less than them.
An alienated something.
Threatening them in their masculinity and their masculine approach of the world.
Like, you're kind of breaking their codes of perception.
Yeah.
So,
and being really in your face with them, I suppose. Yes, there's no way around it for them at that point. So they become aggressive.
Yeah. Well, I want to sort of steer it back to fashion.
Yes.
Because
yes.
as you can see, it is a very important subject, I think, and I want to get back to this importance later. But when you look at the fashion system, we just talked about how strong these gender codes are in our day-to-day life. But I think that in fashion, these codes are almost at the height of their strength. In fashion, I feel that everything is still really segregated into men and women. If you go into each department store, there's still men's sections and women's sections. There's no clothing; it's just men's and women's. Men and women have their own respective fashion weeks. For example, large brands such as Gucci or Louis Vuitton, they have specific designers for menswear and women's wear. Even the whole idea of menswear and women's wear is still very apparent. Men and women have their own fashion magazines. There's a Vogue Homme and there's a Vogue. There's not even an Elle Homme, I think, no. But there, like, even the fashion magazine is steered completely towards different genders. Of course, you have avant-garde designers who are breaking with the gender binary. Think about Jean-Paul Gaultier. who put skirts on men, who put men in corsets, men in dresses. Designers like Rick Owens, who sort of designs unisex garments or garments that are creating a sort of new vision on manhood. And I think that even though some of their ideas sort of slowly trickled down into fast fashion and sort of day-to-day fashion, generally fashion is still very strict in what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. I was wondering if you see any of these ideas trickling down into day-to-day fashion, like for example these long line T-shirts,
Yes.
which are of course also coming from hip hop culture, but I think you can also see that as a sort of
Well, you have the Weekday has the unisex edit,
True.
so they bring out like sweatshirts, and I don't think it's pants yet, maybe track pants.
but it all
But
yeah
they it's a good initiative, but when you walk into a store, it's still like the unisex clothing is not hanging in a unisex section.
Mhm.
You have like unisex clothing within the women's section and unisex clothing within the men's section.
And what I find interesting is that it's the only sort of strategy that seems to be there is this unisex. So
Yeah.
if brands or if stores do feel the need to break with gender binary, the only sort of solution they can provide is unisex. And what does unisex mean? Sort of baggy stuff
Yes,
for everybody.
shapeless.
Where there's
That's what it means now. That's what
Yeah.
they made it
Yeah.
because it's easier for people
Yeah.
to grasp the
Yeah.
idea behind unisex.
Yeah.
But I think, was it American Apparel that also did the
Yeah.
men in leggings?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so
Mhm.
that's
I was
the first kind of unisex
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I also wanted to address the leggings or tight fit jeans, like
Yeah.
slim fit jeans, and that's I think a beautiful example of how women start with something, and that's more socially accepted for
Mhm.
women to experiment with clothing. And
Yeah.
in this case, it was the slim fit jeans or leggings, and then slowly through time, maybe like 5 years ago, actually men started wearing these tight fit jeans
Mhm.
or leggings also with these long t-shirts.
Yeah.
And the leggings were not really like a legging like
Mhm. Tracking.
yes, but they became these tracksuit type jogging pants,
Yeah.
but they were really really tight on the calves and on the legs.
Yeah.
And that's how like it becomes more socially acceptable
Yeah.
for men to wear these leggings
But that's also
when
the
they
thing,
changed slightly the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because like in sportswear, it's easier for
Yes.
men to wear tight fit
For
clothing
practical-
because
Because it's active,
and
yes.
it's performance wear. So when for instance a soccer player, which is perceived as super mega manly here in Holland,
Yeah, like
is
the
done
epitome of
like-
manhood.
Yeah, when he is done with this training and he wears this Nike tracksuit and the legs are tapered and like all of the guys are wearing it, it becomes a little bit more accepted and a little bit more
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
But still,
Power in numbers.
but still I don't find that binary breaking
No.
somehow. Like it's a step towards it because it's like on trend or more socially accepted.
and
but
if
it's
you
like,
if you compare it to the 2000s where
Yeah.
men were only wearing like these baggy jeans,
Mhm.
true.
and now
Yeah.
if you would talk to a man that like was living in 2000s and like those two men would meet from now and
Mhm.
2000, sorry,
Yeah.
like the guy in the zeros would say to the guy in 2018, like, what the hell are you
Yeah.
wearing? Those are women's clothes.
Yeah.
But still, like it's small things like guys wearing chinos and showing ankles.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
guys are showing ankles nowadays.
is
I
another
couldn't have
thing,
imagined,
yes.
like years ago. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So fashion examples of binary clothing is it's going very slowly.
Very slowly.
But they're like minor
Yes.
improvements.
In the mainstream.
What I do
Yeah.
like is, again, when you look at Rick Owens, for example, you do see these sort of not necessarily breaking. Yeah, how do I say this? Sort of the new ideas or the new manly identities that some of these avant-garde designers design. You do see them coming up in fast fashion, and also because I think more and more people are willing to. That's also another perspective on the fashion system. I think a lot more and more people are willing to invest in certain avant-garde pieces, or or are already steering away from fast fashion. So you see that these sort of new subcultures, if you look at the Rick Owens people, like this, that's sort of the unisex tribe where everybody is looking the same and has the same long vertical silhouette, which is totally not coded manly, which is very, So I think that's interesting.
But I feel that's maybe a bit more for the sake of luxury than it is for the sake of trying a new kind of manliness.
Yeah, that's true, I think. Well, I want to make sort of a statement now, I think. Because I believe very strongly in the fact that following the binary codes of gender is something of the past, especially when considering fashion. Why should fashion be something restrictive when for so many people, including myself, fashion is one of the most important tools in freeing and shaping their identity? Ideally, I would like to see and be part of a fashion system where codes for masculinity and femininity are no longer as guiding as they are now. And I sometimes fantasize how this fashion system would look like, because looking at it from this perspective, the whole system that we are in now cannot exist anymore. If we are no longer letting these codes for masculinity and femininity guide us, like what are we going to
play with?
Yeah, but also how are we going to relate ourselves to the system? Because that's the sort of maybe problem with queerness or with this transgressing the binary. And that's also why it's so sort of scary for so many people. It is completely unknown for a lot of people. There's nothing you can relate yourself to. There's nothing you can hold on to. So I always like to fantasize about how this fashion system would look like. Would it be completely individual? Would there be no more stores? Would there be no more trends? Would fashion truly become something that you use to express yourself? Or
maybe fashion would become dress.
Yeah.
And with dress, I mean, what do I mean with dress?
Just garments,
just
clothing.
Yeah, garments, not connected to a certain
Seasonal
zeitgeist
change.
or seasonal change or trends or like a monetary system.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way the system is designed now, it is designed purely almost to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And with this changing fashion system that you're proposing, like the money aspect of the system would also have to change, or would also look entirely different. So it will be total anarchy.
Yeah.
Or freedom.
Yeah, but I think that's what's so difficult about this subject is indeed that it is sort of an anarchy, because we have never lived in a system that is like this. Systems have always been patriarchal, or even if they were matriarchal, it was still a division between men and women. So we have, I don't think we, and that's also what you see with people in fashion and activists who are working with transgressing this binary, is that they are often very alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're very secluded from the group, and of course they can form a group with other people who are transgressing, but you don't see it. You don't see the same sort of group structures arising as with, for example, subcultures or normal fashion trends. But it might be interesting to look at it from the subculture perspective, what you just said also about the punk movement.
Yeah.
Is that maybe the sort of answer would be that there would become a new subculture would arise. So not necessarily the whole fashion system would change or be abolished, but the answer might be that we can sort of create a new subculture or create new groups who are still in this fashion system but are trying to change it from within or something.
There would be like
A utopia.
yeah, it would be utopia. But I think maybe not the fashion system, but like our social system is warming up to change. Also with the more apparent existence of trans people and
true.
the acceptance or non-acceptance, but the discussion that is going on.
Yeah.
So I think that inevitably there has to be a sort of space that has to be created for this change, because there's more and more people wanting that change.
Yeah.
And I don't know what form it would take precisely, but I know it's necessary.
Yeah.
And that this space has to be respected also, I think. That's one of the key elements in this discussion, and also in the previous theme about cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. One of the key words is respect, and that you have to be able for this change to happen to respect the change and respect the people that instigate this change.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, not respecting, like,
Okay, I have a
results
question.
in violence. Oh my God.
I have a hard question. No, I don't know. Yeah. Do you think that this respect is only possible with the dying of an older generation?
Ooh,
Oh, I
I was
don't think
thinking
so.
about this.
I don't think so,
Really?
because I don't feel that the younger generation does respect me.
No?
Is that
Not-
that controversial to say?
No,
Like
no,
if you,
it's your
for example,
experience.
if you look, I often torture myself by reading comments on Facebook
No,
underneath articles
don't
about
do that.
gender or
I do
gay
it.
stuff or
I do
whatever.
it.
People are
Guilty.
stupid
So-
on Facebook.
But there's not really a difference between generations there. There are baby boomers who are saying that I should die, but there are also people of my age and my social surroundings and my sort of path or place in life that are like, oh, this is gross. I don't want to see two men kissing on a poster.
Oh, that's
So-
about
That's another, the suit
posters
supply
in-
and
yeah,
supply,
but also there was now in Amsterdam a poster. I think it was from the. It was double. It was
yes.
it was double
Turkish
because
guys kissing.
it was Muslim gay guys kissing.
That's right.
That's
So-
another whole nother.
That's
like,
next level. That's also
and
bringing
there-
religion into
And there are
it.
also what's like what I find
scary topic.
so necessary to talk about this is that you have a lot of that this is going completely away from fashion, but what's often happening in the Netherlands is that, for example, political parties use these problems or these aggressions towards gay people or trans people or lesbian people or whoever to
Make a hype.
make a hype and to target certain groups in our society. So they will immediately say, oh yeah, of course, because we have so
Yes.
many immigrants here, it's impossible for gay people to live their life. But if you look at these comments, it's mostly white, Western, very much living here their entire life Dutch people who are saying these things. So
Yes.
that's why I think it's so necessary to talk about this, because maybe it's again what you said in the cultural appropriation episode, white innocence. We believe that no, our fellow
I think.
white Dutch people will not think like this because we are a tolerant and accepting country.
Yes.
Yeah, I
But
think.
it's
Yes.
completely not true.
It's also the marketing of Holland in itself
Mhm.
as this tolerant nation.
yeah, and
But then again, like tolerance isn't accepting.
But even the word acceptance, I
Yes.
struggle with now. Why
Yes.
should I need to be accepted?
Yes. Why aren't I respected?
Acceptance, like you accept. The word acceptance for me is not necessarily very positive.
No.
Like you accept
like-
something that is not very pleasant to you. You accept an annoying noise somewhere. You accept.
Have accepted the situation.
So
Yes.
why should I? I think it's very, very important that we start talking about this, and that we also start talking about the fact that we presume that this is something that has arisen the last years because people have come here from other countries and have fled from other countries, and that it is all due to these new Dutch people that these problems have come up more and more.
Yes.
But I don't think that's the case at all. It has always been there.
They're not
Agreed.
even
Agreed.
busy with like other people
Oh.
living their life. Basically, they're
They have
They-
fled their country. They
yeah,
fled from war. So why?
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more
yeah.
with you on this.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Sidetrack.
Yeah, but
It's
I
also-
think it's important to talk about this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I really liked that you brought up the political buzz
Mhm.
creating aspect also, because particularly now with the elections coming up, I really needed to laugh. Like I was crying also a little bit inside about the VVD posters.
Even normaal doen.
Normaal doen.
Yeah.
In English, the translation is literally "be normal," and that actually a lot of people who vote for this political party, the VVD,
Mhm.
are actually like really transphobic, homophobic, everything phobic, and the VVD is nevertheless using like the gay minority problematics
Mhm.
as
To pinkwash their
yes,
politics. That's
Yes.
a very big problem, I think,
Oh,
in
like-
politics now.
yeah,
It's very. It's also what PVV does. What a lot of
That's right.
conservative parties do is use our struggle as
Yes.
gay people,
and the result is that
Or
actually a
as
lot of people, a lot of
LGBTQ
gays
people.
actually vote
Yeah.
for people
Mhm.
like Geert Wilders.
Yeah, because they
Yes.
feel that he will finally do something about this problem that is here, blah blah blah. But,
But it's a
Yeah.
hidden agenda.
it's
Yeah.
very much so.
Yes,
But
interesting.
I think that this discussion shows how important this subject is, and also why I think that even when you disconnect it from the fashion system, but I think the fashion system is connected to this discussion as well. I think that it is very important that fashion education institutions start reconsidering the way in which they treat this discussion and the way in which they treat gender. I must say that the notion of gender and the binary is already very different at fashion schools. There is already a lot of discussion about it, and I can speak from experience that students are often stimulated to question notions of gender by their teachers. I was stimulated very much in my education to think about gender and to think about how I behave as a man and how I am in fashion. And you see also that more and more students, for example, choose to design menswear instead of women's wear, which I think is already a sort of change, but also that the students who are designing menswear are steering away from the traditional coded garments for men. So they are not only making suits and coats anymore. It has become more and more broad in the last few years. Or that they are either designing these collections where there is a new image of what a man should be. But I do believe that even though the gender binary is already being transgressed in many ways at fashion education institutions, I do really want to challenge these academies to take their approach to gender on a different level. And what we were just discussing, and you could feel how important this issue is and how much more consequences it has than we often think. But then when you look at fashion education, the focus is most of the time only on aesthetics. So there's a very substantial focus on the aesthetic aspect of transgressing the gender binary, and all these transgressive efforts are limited to developing looks and outfits and collections and projects, but students are still prepared for a position in this strong binary fashion system and are not challenged or supported in really coming up with a way to change this system or to start this debate or to highlight this debate in fashion. And I really wonder what if fashion education would facilitate their students to become aware of the deeply rooted position of the gender binary in our day-to-day lives and their consequences. What if there would be more talk about this, more, just what do you guys think? Would that help if you look at the power that fashion can have, I think, in our society, would it maybe help if we start educating the new generation of fashion designers to have a more profound knowledge of the real problems that are the roots of this issue?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you that like in fashion academies, the focus lies very much on aesthetics and the power of aesthetics, and not as much in what the effect on aesthetics can have on on a deeper social level, and that the designers to be or students don't really get to know the vocabulary to be able to start this debate or to be able to keep up with this debate, even though they feel that things need to be different, but it always stays on a certain superficial level, therefore. And that's a shame, and there's a lot of possibilities to, or for the fashion academies to be, to give information.
I think for every fashion education, fashion theory should be mandatory, but like in-depth fashion theory.
Yes.
So knowing what your semiotics will do while designing and what kind of effect they have. Because how can you design something without knowing the repercussions of what you're desiging?
Yeah.
Yes. And this
like if speculative design does it, like product design knows what kind of effect it will have on the future. Like why can't fashion design also take that approach towards designing as a craft?
And I would also like to then reference back again to the cultural appropriation episode, where, as that you're, Chinook, referring to now, that the objects of aesthetics that we are creating in these fashion schools are, again, deprived of meaning, and that we are not, that the students are not able to understand the social meaning that this item carries.
Social understanding of anything that is designed nowadays has so much value and is often used as educational purpose for the next generation or the ones that they're affecting with their design. So I mean, there should be conscious design.
Yes, absolutely. And I think fashion is also one of the best tools to talk about psychology, also and anthropology, and it's about behavior. It's about how we look at each other.
Fashion has always been subversive and has always led, I think, has always led the way for huge social change as well. So I think that if we start to educate future students and future generations of fashion professionals to really take this subversive and powerful nature of fashion again and truly use it to change not only the fashion system but the whole system, the whole way in which we are interacting with each other and relating to each other. I think it can also really deepen and change the meaning of fashion.
But also deepen the relationship that we have with our products, but also deepen the relationship that we have with each other through these products also. And I think that would be a really, really nice addition to the fashion education system as we know it today.
Dit was het eerste gesprek van de aflevering. Ging over gender binary.
Ja, en dat was dus door Hester, Chad en Chinook.
Het tweede item van vandaag is Nobody Cares. Nobody Cares is gemaakt door 2 Turkse expats. die bij elkaar komen om als een moderne Stedtler en Waldorf te klagen over zo'n beetje alles. En in deze aflevering gaat dat over instituties en bureaucratie.
They should offer a silly question hotline for expats.
Nobody cares. My husband can't open a shared savings account with me because I'm currently unemployed. Are the German authorities concerned about my potential sugar baby status?
Nobody cares.
We are stuck on a piece of rock hurtling through space at 1,000 miles per hour, with a finite shelf life full of uncertainties.
Join us as we complain our way through the dizziness towards a modicum of joy.
Today, I'd like to begin with a song that expresses my current situation.
Yeah, I was planning to talk about the crazy cold days. Did you know that the Dutch were calling it the Siberian beer, as Warren Ellis shared with the Finns, would call it Wednesday? It's just a normal Wednesday. Yes, let's talk about something even more frustrating.
Okay, so we found a very nice flat in the small city where my hubby works. It looks like we are signing the contract this week and moving in mid-March.
Yay! Yeah, like I'm very, very happy to hear it. And but just tell me, how many pages of paper do you have to have in your application file? Well, even having an application file is funny enough, though, for us, if I may say that.
Yeah, I didn't really count, but I'd say more than 3. So, but that was nothing. The main problem is we are supposed to change our main residence when we move. But I still haven't gotten my residency permit renewal, and we don't know if we should already apply to change our address on the application, or if it would throw a wrench into the whole process. Like, we also don't know if I should keep my main residence as is, so I can take my driver's license exam here. We are also not sure if that would have a negative effect on my permit renewal, because then I'd be basically declaring that I'm living apart from my husband at his parents' house. But still.
I can't. I don't know what to say.
You can't even, right?
No.
I mean, I can't even either.
I have to say I admire Dutch approach on things like this here. It's all online and you can make the changes instant and like painless. I'm aware in Germany they have 0 tolerance for the mistakes and they have weird laws, I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could give you the answers, really, really. And as a matter of fact, this is the hardest part of being an expat, isn't it? We don't know and we can't ask because, I mean, when you ask them, it sounds silly. Whom would you ask this kind of question? And also, I now realize, God forbid, if you're an expat in Turkey, where would you go with these questions? It's even more harder. I mean, here at least they have. So we can say it's the same everywhere. Should they offer a silly questions hotline for expats?
I think that's an excellent idea. You're onto something there.
Maybe we should just apply.
I mean, the main problems go like this. I'm married to a German. I'm not your standard Turkish immigrant worker. And yet I'm not fully fluent in German rules and regulations to navigate it alone. So all of those are complicating my situation. And my husband and my father-in-law are trying to ease the process for me by phoning various authorities on my behalf. But it's
a process. Yes.
Yeah, it's something that has to be endured. Regarding your question about Turkey, I only had a brief experience with it because we got married in Turkey. It was pretty awful, though. I mean, we were given the runaround until someone in an authority position took pity on us.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the difference. I don't know if they would pity and try to help some other ways without making you cry like an anime girl, you know?
Yeah, I actually did cry like that, as you very well know,
Yes.
during the painful marriage process in Turkey. But basically the difference is no one in an authority position in Germany would step out of the regulations. Even if it's not fully breaching the law, even if it's not even bending the law, but just moving within a certain gray area, taking any sort of initiative. They just don't do that.
Yes. No.
They are perfectly content with letting you languish in that little gray area and wait it out. I think there's a reason why Kafka wrote in German and not Turkish.
True. Well, of course, nobody's asking for a special treatment or such, but even if you ask them a question that nobody asked before, just because you want to make it right, they would turn into the Windows blue screen of that. Like this program has performed an illegal operation and will be shut down. Like that's like unbelievable expression on their face.
No, I mean, I've been stuck in this backwater village for like 3 years, and now we're about to move. It's like my dream is turning into a nightmare. And what could I have possibly done to deserve it?
You know what we say about this kısmet.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that the Google Translation works perfectly with Dutch. Otherwise, I don't really know how I would have survived. The language of bureaucracy is always a challenge. But isn't it also another complicated issue to apply for a job? What we have discovered on our own in these couple of months, even between Netherlands and Germany, it's quite different, no?
Yeah. Well, I found out that even the structure of a CV is different here. On the one hand, it feels like, just another hurdle to clear. On the other hand, how did I not see this before? How come I missed that? So when I sat down to think about it afterwards, I'm like basically describing an elephant to people who have never seen one. Of course I have to explain everything very clearly, in detail on my CVs so they can understand what...
But even the dates that you have no job, no? You have to state everything.
Yeah, that's certainly something we aren't used to, explaining what we did and when and why those 4 months aren't covered in the CV. And of course, I wasn't looking for a job.
Oh, no.
No. I wasn't unemployed. No, sir, no. I was on a very long and well-deserved vacation. Yes, sir.
I was in Istanbul the previous week and then in Paris. And I was so happy to be back in the Netherlands. I can't tell. Really, getting onto a bus or a train is my favorite thing to do here. Seeing people who wait patiently for the passengers to get off for us. It's kind of a meditation for me.
Honestly, I don't really see much of a difference in that. On social media, I keep seeing pictures of public transportation from Istanbul, where people are rushing to doors without waiting for anyone to get out, and the comments are all like, "Oh, it's so different in civilized countries, blah, blah, blah." Oh, in Germany, it's not much different. A few weeks ago, I was about to get off at the station, and of course, again, people were piled up in front of the doors. Then a school kid said...
School kid, eh?
He was a very small boy. I don't know, maybe, 8, 9, 10 tops. And he said, "We should let the passengers get off first." And I felt like crying, from the sheer joy. I was like, yes, kid, yes, you should. You're a good boy.
Well, I have to say, initially our plan was complain about French attitude, but look where the conversation led us.
Yeah, I don't know nearly enough French people to complain about their attitude. I can only tell you that one shouldn't be more French than the actual French.
I'm really looking forward that promised Galactic Union Day, so no one will be the foreigners anymore, and we will all feel the pain of bureaucracy equally.
Oh yeah.
This is also Aksu, up-and-coming complaint master of Arnhem and sought-out troubleshooter.
This is Zaida Fürstenberger, she who is doomed to weird names and the resident crone of southern Germany.
Signing off until our next anxiety attack or whatever.
Nobody cares.
En dit was Nobody Cares.
En zo ook de derde aflevering alweer.
Ja, de derde aflevering van Nobody Cares. Dus ook de derde aflevering van Diversity Stories.
Ja.
Diversity Stories is een
Initiatief.
van Studium Generale ArtEZ.
Precies. En wij moeten mensen bedanken die aan deze aflevering meegedaan hebben.
Hester Brands, Chet Buchter en Chinook Flik de Miranda.
Asu Aksu en Zahide Fusterberger. De links staan weer in de show notes. Wij zijn Silas.
Bloemie.
En Nina.
Tot de volgende keer.
Dag.
Dag.
Hold on. Tell you what's next. Hold on. Wait a minute.